And welcome back in GameDaySportsRadio.com. Boji Wood along with Mike Bernard this morning, looking at a little NFL playoffs on Inside the Numbers. Mike, how are we doing?
I'm doing well, Coach. How are you? Has the snow melted yet up in North
No,
Alabama?
no,
No?
it's not. It has not melted. As a matter of fact, we got another freeze overnight, so it's going to be with us for a while.
Well, I don't guess there's any chance of the Alabamians learning how to drive in this winter weather anytime soon, right?
I wasn't going to say that, but no. And as a native Alabamian myself, I will have to say that my years spent in Virginia and Chicago taught me how to drive in the snow. And yeah, that it is a learned skill. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, but now we're just resigned to the fact that no one else knows how to drive in it, so you just stay off the roads.
That's true. And that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. All right, let's look at Saturday's games. In the AFC, we've got the number 4 seed Houston, number 1 seed Baltimore. This is going to be a 4:30 p.m. Saturday kick on ESPN and ABC. Lamar Jackson just having an MVP type year, and now he's going to host a couple of rookies that are doing pretty good for themselves. Old Alabama great DeMarco Ryans and rookie quarterback C.J. Stroud of Ohio State. Listen, these two guys, they're filling their roles with a lot of confidence right now. I mean, C.J. Stroud, he didn't look like a rookie last week in his first playoff game.
No, Coach, he didn't. And actually, it was kind of his second playoff game, in my opinion, because the Week 18, they had to win to get into the playoffs on the road. So that kind of helped, give him some experience there. But he's been phenomenal all year long. He's going against Lamar Jackson. As you said, he's the leading candidate for the MVP. But, Coach, he's 1-3 in the playoffs. I don't think it's on him when you go back and watch the tape of those games. Baltimore's number 1 rated power ranked team in the league. I respect Houston. I bet them plus the points last weekend. Right now, I don't have a position in this game. The public's all over Houston, and I don't think it's because of this stat I'm about to give, but the numbers, the last 20 years in this divisional round, number 1 seeds are covering at only 35%.
Wow. Okay. That's kind of surprising. To the
numbers are inflated.
Yeah, to the novice like me, that's pretty surprising. All right, let's move on to the 8:15 p.m. kick on Fox Saturday night. That's going to be the NFC game, number 7 seed Green Bay against the number 1 seed San Francisco, and these two numbers are pretty similar. Both the favorites, favored by 9.5, and the 43.5 number on Houston and Baltimore, and then Green Bay and San Francisco 50.5. Listen, Packers, they went into Dallas and they looked pretty dang good. As a matter of fact, some fans in Green Bay now, they're saying, Aaron, who was that? Because listen, Jordan Love has 21 touchdowns and only 1 interception in his last 9 games. Matt LaFleur, Kyle Shanahan, they know each other very well. They've served on staffs together, I think most recently back in with the Texans. But now they get to face off against each other in the playoffs.
Yeah, you talked about Green Bay. What an impressive road win. And I don't mention this to take anything away from Green Bay's win, but Coach, the Cowboys just fold like cheap tents in the playoffs every year since '97. I mean, that's
stop that, because one of my resolutions in 2024 was to be good and not talk about we dem boys. But you're right. I'm just going to say, you go ahead. I'm going to stay good with my resolution, but you go ahead and talk about how the Cowboys suck. You go ahead.
Yeah, well, hey, in the postseason, at regular season, they look like they're the bullies, right? They beat up on
Mhm.
all the bad teams and go about 500 against the good teams. And then postseason, and I honestly believe from the last man on the roster up to Jerry Jones, they feel the pressure so much that it shows up in the playoffs, and they just got throttled at home. Um, when I take a look at numbers in this game, the Niners, when I take a look at this game, the Niners, when they're coming off a bye and they lost their last regular season game, coach, teams in this situation in divisional rounds are only 3-15 against the spread. I'm not a trend guy. I bring them up because I am a numbers guy, but these trends, you have to take notice. These are long-term, decades long sometimes.
Mhm.
So that's
Mhm.
against them. And also, we talked about the Ravens being a number one seed. The Niners are the number one seed here. So that 35% cover rate also applies here. So the historical results, the data, it favors the underdog. I do have a small position, not on the side, but on the under in this game.
Okay. All right, let's move on to Sunday's games. We've got the NFC and NBC broadcast this game, 3 p.m. Eastern time kick on Sunday. Bucks, they destroyed the Eagles 32-9 last weekend to advance. The Lions, they held on for a 1-point win over the Rams in their wild card game. And Detroit, say what you want, they're playing with a lot of swagger, a lot of confidence right now. And they're nearly a touchdown favorite in this thing, 6.5, favored by 6.5. Over unders at 48.5.
Yeah. And, when I read the market and take a look at the point spread says Lions cover. Hard for me to get on board with a favorite in this divisional round, but the market indicators say Detroit wins and covers. Baker Mayfield, he was really good in last week's win, but now he's going to be in Detroit. And, Coach, it's a little bit underrated. They haven't been in the postseason in so long and had too many meaningful games there, but it is a loud, tough arena, one of the toughest ones in sport. Lions went to Tampa in October. They won 20-6. I don't think that really matters too much now. That was 3 months ago. I do have a small money line play on Detroit, which I don't recommend that actually, but I haven't taken a position on the total. I'm just waiting for a better number.
Well, the old adage, they saved the best for last. It certainly looks like it for this weekend. The
Yeah.
AFC divisional game, the number 3 seed Chiefs, number 2 seed Buffalo. This is the late game on CBS. And of course, these two teams have had just knockdown dragouts, both playoff and regular season games over the last several years. Last week, Chiefs beat Miami in Arctic conditions. The Dolphins just looked totally out of sorts there. And now, though, the two-time Super Bowl champion and almost perennial MVP, Patrick Mahomes, he has to play his first playoff game on the road. Now, last month, Bills beat Kansas City in Arrowhead. Josh Allen was successful on the ground with a passing game and a win over the Steelers in their playoff game. And this game, again, this is the marquee game. There's no way around it.
It is, Coach. And if you remember back, remember when Buffalo had Kansas City beat in Arrowhead
Oh,
and they didn't finish the game and it went to overtime and the Chiefs got the won the coin toss, took the ball and scored.
yeah.
Well, that game changed the NFL rules because we haven't seen it yet.
Mhm.
But now when the NFL goes to overtime in the postseason, each team will get a possession. And it's due to
Yeah.
that game, that result of that game. The Chiefs, the win over Miami, Coach, that was the 4th coldest game in NFL history, whether regular season or postseason. You talked about Josh Allen and his run game. He's big, he's strong. Hey, look, he just ran 52 yards for a touchdown. You don't see that.
Yeah.
You don't see Lamar Jackson doing that anymore.
No.
And it was pretty impressive. And the Steelers don't have a bad defense. So the defense for the Chiefs, that's the difference because their offense has not been good. Statistically, eye test, receivers are probably the worst unit they've had since Mahomes has been there, but the defense is probably, in my opinion, the best that they've had since Andy Reid got to Kansas City. Bills are minus 2.5 or 3. Coach, this market is so tight. So anybody that tells you, hey, I've got this great super play in the NFL playoffs, there's a line mistake, it's not true, okay? Because this game is so tight, you could play the right play is to play the Bills minus 2.5, minus 10, or play the Chiefs plus 3, minus 10. I mean, it's just so close. I think I'm going to play props in this game, and I do have Kansas City in the first quarter alone because you can find some off lines on the props.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to this weekend as a fan, but really looking forward again to this game, Kansas City and Buffalo. Like I said, they played some classics over the last several years, and I think there's a little scuttlebutt out of Kansas City that Andy Reid may be retiring after this season. I think that's probably some blog guy out in Kansas City trying to get some clicks or what have you. I just don't see Andy Reid walking away right now.
I'm not sure. I've heard I've heard some low rumblings of that. But Coach, he's been through a lot the last few years. His son and some personal issues. Wouldn't surprise me. Look, we heard the same things about Saban at Alabama, different sport, but back in November, and you and I didn't talk about it on air, but we kind of knew. I mean, that he had enough of college football as it is today. And now there's a fire sale on players at Alabama. I mean, they've lost in so I mean, read it. Go ahead, Coach.
No, I was going to say, that's the domino effect of the of coaching changes, because every time the coach leaves, that opens a 30-day window for that particular squad. And as a matter of fact, and you must be clairvoyant, because in the next segment, we've got guests talking about the transfer portal.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. I think I may have asked you before, but so if you didn't need the money and you're just coaching for the love of the of coaching, would you coach in college football in this environment?
At Division II and Division III, I would, because that's about the only pure amateur athletics that we still have.
Yeah, and even 1AA or FCS, those guys, they develop the players, get them like the James Madison quarterback. I know he's not FCS anymore, but they were just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So these 1AA players that are maybe tweeners, they get developed, and then they're like, and I don't blame the kids. I don't blame any of these kids. They put themselves on the market. That's what they should do. You and I would tell our sons or nephews to do the same.
Sure.
But from the program standpoint, you get these kids, you develop them, and then you're left with, I mean, you're going to see a lot of teams get, go from super elite down to just good. And you're going to see some teams that go from good to elite.
Right. And I don't know if you saw the ruling, but the NCAA cannot prohibit two-time transfers from playing immediately. And because of that, you're going to have some states that come back and argue that the NCAA has no power to enforce anything. And it is, we're basically going back to the 20s and 30s of college football, where you have small coalitions, conferences that, they set their rules and they play by their rules, and within that particular conference. And we've talked about this before. I think that, in short order, probably quicker than we originally thought, we're going to have that super conference that has the elite of the elite, and then it's just everyone else for themselves.
Yeah, it's they won't admit it, but it sure looks a lot like the NFL. Right?
Yes,
I mean, as far as the divisions, you have two conferences, you have the divisions. I think that's where they're going to get, and then I think one last thing on the college. I know this was an NFL preview,
Right,
but
right.
we always seem to turn it into college.
Yeah.
The bowls, the meaningless bowls, some of them are going to be meaningful again due to the 12-team playoff. And that's in college football right now with this mess, they really need the 12-team playoff to have something positive other than what's going on right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I don't even like the idea of playing the first round, so to speak, and I certainly don't like the idea of anyone getting a bye, even though it's again mirroring the NFL. That's what they do. But I don't like the idea of anyone getting a bye, and I don't like the idea of playing these games, on campus. Uh, you know, Call out your bowls, and now you can have some of your minor bowls. And when I say minor bowls, I'm talking about the old bowls that have been there forever, the Gator Bowl, the Independence Bowl, those type things. But all these, now I don't want to get sued, so I'm not going to mention anything. But Joe's Bait Shack and Tax Return Bowl, that bowl needs to just go away. I'm sorry, it just needs to go.
Yeah, and well, here's the thing. All right, so you and I know from from being in the state of Alabama that for about, I don't know, a decade straight, either Alabama or Auburn played for the national title. Well, and then you have Alabama and Georgia and Clemson for 5 years in a row.
Right.
All right. Well, the fans can't go to all that. You got to go to a semifinal game, the championship game. So I think that's in part obviously money plays a part as well. But it's hard for these fans. I know, like a lot of Alabama fans, they've already been to their trips of a lifetime multiple times. Same with Georgia, with Clemson. So that's probably the biggest reason I could say to have it on a home field.
Yeah, and I'm going to counter that argument with this is that you don't have to go, because now you think about this. And let's just say that, and again, this is wild fetch, but let's just say that we had a 16-team playoff. There were no byes, what have you. And let's just say that Michigan and Alabama, they met in the Sun Bowl. Let's just say that. In a first-round game, they met in the Sun Bowl. Well, a lot of Alabama fans, and Michigan fans would say, well, I don't want to spend my money to go to El Paso to see them play there. I'm going to wait because they're going to win, and again, they're all delusional. They're going to win. But guess what? If you put Michigan and Alabama in a first round game in the Sun Bowl, it's sold out because you will get so many locals at that point who don't care anything about going and seeing Soki Newcomb School for the Girls and Divide, Electronics play in their bowl game. But if it is a playoff game, you're going to draw people from El Paso is going to be there. You're going to draw people from different parts of Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, even California that would ride over and participate and be a part of that game. And again, and I think by doing that, it makes it more affordable in the long run too, because tickets are not going to be as such a high demand as they would be when you just have a 14 playoff.
Yeah, those are all good points, and it'll be interesting to see once they do the home field first games, what the ticket allocation will be, because I would think you should offer the visiting team a fair more than a normal portion, right? And then if they don't sell it, then you just get it back.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because if it's a true playoff game, college playoff game, that you're saying we're try to be neutral, try to give, try to be fair. That word's always popping up, but basically it turns into another home game for the host if you don't give them more tickets, because it's but again, there's no perfect answer, to all of this, because they have to find some way to incorporate the bowls. It's not going to be like the lower divisions where they play everything on campus, which I have no problem with. I've been a part of that, been a part of the bowls. I mean, it's all good. But, the lower divisions, they play everything on campus until the championship game. I've got no issue, with that. But it's going to be interesting to see where college football goes within the next 2 to 5 years.
I don't think it'll be recognizable for someone that has been asleep since 2018.
I totally agree with you there. All right. Well, Mike, you have a great weekend, and we're going to we'll be back and review these games next week, and then looking forward to the conference championships game.
Thanks, Coach. Have a great week.
Be right back talking transfer portal. GameDaySportsRadio.com.